Welcome to the Orange Pill Podcast. My name is Graham Elwood, broadcasting to you live from Orange Pill Studios in beautiful downtown San Salvador. We have had a fantastic weekend. Bitcoin has been just doing what it's doing, which is great. And then, so there's much to discuss. And let us welcome back to the show from their Orange Pill bunker in parts unknown, ladies and gentlemen, Max and Stacy. Hi, guys.
Hey, your audio is so fucked up. I don't know if you know that. It's if you see in the comments, everybody's complaining about it. It's really over modulated.
Yeah, that's really crazy.
It's like crackling and all sorts of bad stuff.
Okay, 1 minute.
You got to fix that. That's like Barclays level delivery.
That's cool.
Well, guys, Max is exiting the stage.
I'm here. I gotta look at my stuff. I got stuff here. I got stuff.
Yeah. See, Stacy kept it real. That's what people are saying, right? I've got a poncho on that I bought in Mexico. And you know what? Soon after that, we moved to El Salvador. And so I was never cold again.
Am I making noise?
Yes.
All right.
This is a total wreck of
This
life.
is fucked up.
My camera's crooked. Like, it's so busy right now because of the bull market in Bitcoin, because everybody's moving to El Salvador. Things are booming there. Graham has his audio fucked up. My camera is fucked up. I can see that. And this is like old school. This is like when rock and roll before it became auto-tuned and all professional.
Yeah, auto-tune sucks, man. I like to just jam.
This is punk rock.
God save the queen! God save the queen!
Fiat regime.
The fiat regime!
Right. LOLs and Brit at Barclays. Yeah, Barclays Bank. I'm sure if you live on Twitter all day like this, like I do, every time the president comes out and dunks on somebody, it is a great joy for my, it gives me the giggles. It's like, some of those. No, get the fuck off the stage.
Get the fuck off the stage! Fuck off, Graham!
What the hell is
What's wrong with you?
Restart your computer or some shit like that, or are you gonna shut us off, right? Like, everybody in the comments, like, get that guy off the stage because his audio fucking sucks.
You got a weed whacker shoved up your ding dong.
Don't talk. Don't laugh.
What the fuck is wrong with this guy?
It's messing up with our audio and our listening experience.
Jesus, who is that? Who?
Can't fail, terrible. Wow. Like, this is not some. What would you describe like as a bad setup? Like, if this is not like. This is like, that's like his audio is the equivalent of Madonna's face, right?
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
It's a horror to look at.
It's a freaking horror. You can barely look at it. In this case, you can't really hear it. There's a range of audio that's audible to the human ear, and outside of that range, it's all very painful. Graham managed to hit every single note outside of the audible range to the painful range. We don't know what he's saying. It's just painful. It's sheer pain. I've got a splitting headache now from Graham's mess up with the sound. I can barely think.
I know, that sucks.
How about that? Is that better?
Yes, it's about time.
Oh, there he is.
Jeez, we were just like totally ridiculing you and calling you like the audio equivalent of Madonna's face.
Well, I have a Madonna audio app that I plug the speaker into that just comes through her face. That's what happens. And so I thought it was going to make it better.
Sounds like it. That's a good explanation. It's fiat audio.
I don't know. We tested it. Everything was fine. And when we went live, some went out on the internet. I don't know. I always, when in doubt.
Sure, blame the internet. Blame the internet.
Oh, yeah, man.
Right? You sound like Joe Biden or something.
just fumbling around, eating ice cream while people are starving, not knowing where I'm at. That's what I'm doing. I want to be like Joe Biden. That's my goal. So
Yeah.
I kind of was hoping the sound problem would keep going because I wanted Max to keep playing the ukulele because that was pretty amazing to see.
How do you pronounce
Why do you say ukulele? It sounds
ukulele?
lele.
Who the hell are? What the
That's
heck
the
is wrong
Hawaiian
with
pronunciation.
Ukulele.
Yeah.
ukulele?
It's ukulele.
It's like the way Alex Jones pronounces bukele.
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 So, I understand you without. I understand that you know the New World Order. You once rode an elevator once with George Soros' son. What is Bukele? What's Bukele really doing down there?
Right. What's the price of Bitcoin anyway? I haven't looked all day. Okay, it's 67,000, right?
Yes.
It's
Which,
back.
is great because and it just tickled the all-time high. And then when it pulled back, of course, people are like, one guy, I don't even know who he is. He's like, see, I told you it was a bubble. And it was like, oh man, I love these people that their dumb comments are time-stamped for eternity on the internet. That's what I love.
Oh, well, to be fair, that was kind of a joke because that was Joe Wiesenthal. And he was actually, he used to be at Bloomberg, but before that, he was at Business Insider. And when he was at Business Insider, he came on to Kaiser Report back in like 2011 or 12 when Bitcoin was like a dollar, $10 or something like that. And so he was in our studio in Paris, actually. And, we always call him a fiat bug, or Max does. And he jokingly said, I told you Bitcoin was going to crash. I've been telling you for years now that it's a bubble. He's been saying it since it was $100. So I think he's kind of like teasing himself as well that he's been wrong for the past $69,000.
Yeah. And also there's a few people that legitimately are, rubbing their hands like, you see, it's a bubble. This guy, Keith Weiner, who's a gold bug.
Oh, yeah.
He every time it pulls back 2% on its way to infinity, he does a victory lap. Like, see, I told you. And of course, Peter Schiff famously, every time Bitcoin has a 2% pullback, he's does a victory lap. This has been going on since Bitcoin was $10. So yeah, there's Joe is making a parody, but a lot of people genuinely, find these pullbacks. They don't understand the bull market that they are mocking.
Yeah, it's fascinating that I guess give that guy Joe credit. I didn't know it was a joke, but good for him that he is making he can admit fault. Like that's such a sign of somebody. People who could never admit fault, and they probably don't admit fault because they think they're going to look weak when actually never admitting fault is a sign of weakness. Admitting
that guy,
fault.
Dave Portnoy, over the Barstool Sports,
Yeah.
He's been chronicling his failure at Bitcoin. He owned it. He sold it at a loss. He's got a loss. He's one of the few people that's got a loss. And he goes on his YouTube channel and whatever, and he's crying and he's stuffing pizza in his face, crying. But, he mans up. He cowboys up. He cops to the reality of the situation. I agree with you. It's a sign of strength.
It is. To admit fault is a sign of strength. I'm so confident in who I am that I can say I was wrong. Because if when you can't admit fault, you're usually like insecure. Everyone's going to think I'm bad and wrong or something. It's like, just man up.
Well, Dave Portnoy wasn't wrong in terms of he believed Bitcoin and he said Bitcoin was good, but he was just very highly regarded about certain actions that he took. I remember he bought Bitcoin along with his mistake was really he had the
Winklevi?
The Winklevi. The Winklevi twins walk him through buying his first Bitcoin, and he bought like $1 million worth at $10,000. But he also bought a Safe Moon, which was a Ponzi scheme that collapsed, and all the founders were arrested in the past year. And so when he sold everything because he was like, it's all a scam, right? And so he lost his Bitcoin that he had bought at 10,000. Oh. And then he bought some more at like 20, somewhere between 20 and 30,000. But he didn't, to be fair, he must have like Coinbase or something, Coinbase and Binance. If you've ever seen their back end, and I've only seen it because I've helped people exit those sites. They had accounts there and they were stuck in that casino. And you know how you worked in Las Vegas for a long time. You know how casinos are designed to be impossible to leave? Like it's impossible to find the elevator because they want you on the gambling floor, on the casino floor gambling. Mm-hmm. Well, that's like the casinos, the crypto casinos of Binance and Coinbase. So I think somehow he messed up and thought he was just checking on his Bitcoin, and somehow he ended up selling it at like, when he bought it at 30, I remember he said, and it went down to 20, and he wanted to check and see, and he ended up selling it into, so it was still on his account though as dollars. And so when Bitcoin went up to like 40 something, he went over there to check it again to see like how much it was up, like what his account looked like, and instead it was still in dollars. And so he was like, what the hell? So he's just making fun of himself. But these are, that's the problem with going into a casino instead of just buying Bitcoin on an exchange like swanbitcoin.com/orange pill, right?
Yes. And they're just Bitcoin only, because when you buy through these other exchanges, you might get into this. I saw this article that Binance made a crypto perfume in a baffling attempt to woo women. This could not be worse. Like, I cannot think of a worse perfume than
I can. This candle smells like my vagina by Gwyneth Paltrow. Okay, sure. That by far, that's got to be the worst scented product of the past 100 years. My vagina smells better than Gwyneth Paltrow's. I know that for sure. I mean, sure, her vagina stinks, and it's well documented. Any way you do, you can look up Wikipedia under stinky vagina, and there's Gwyneth Paltrow's photo right there with their lab sticking out, all flappy, because it's all flappy labia. She needs a labia correcting surgery. Forget the face, just correct the labia. It's hanging out like 2 slices of the steakum. Those steakum products you get in your freezer for like 20 years, you pull them out and you say, oh, I'm going to have some steak from 20 years ago. Those are Gwyneth Paltrow's vagina lips.
This is why we don't get any advertising on this show. Man, you need to calm down.
All right, fine. I don't need to talk about it. You mentioned the worst scent. What is this? Binance is selling perfume? Is this the smell of getting wrecked? Why don't they just call it wrecked? Yes. Here, stash some of this under your ears and reek the smell of wrecked at Binance, the wrecking machine.
Well, that is exactly what I was describing though, right now to you. I said, when you go into a casino in Vegas, it's almost impossible to find your way off the gambling floor, right? To get out of there because they ply you with a free drink, a squirt of perfume, something to keep you on the gambling
floor. It's a psyop.
Exactly. Okay.
It absolutely is a psyop. Literally, they design the casinos. There's no windows. There's no clocks. There's no like big exit sign. They're designed in a labyrinth. They make the carpeting, if you ever in the casino look down, it'd be all these crazy colors to help you like get lost. And there's just lights and blanks, so you don't know where you are, and it's almost impossible to find an exit door.
Yes.
And they pump oxygen into there, so you stay up later. Like, it's crazy. And then somewhere in the food court, there will be a Sbarro.
There'll be a Sbarro in the food court. Plus, a lot of casinos open right up into an IKEA. IKEA is designed the same way as a casino. It's a labyrinth. You can never escape. People go into IKEA to buy a bed, and they're 5 years later, they're still trying to find the exit. So in Sweden, they don't like gambling, drinking. They're very austere. They're very august. They like getting lost in a furniture shop. That's their idea of a good time.
What are you guys doing this weekend? Oh, we're going to get lost in a furniture shop. It's going to be fucking awesome. It's going to be a great weekend. And we're going to put on some crypto cologne. It's going to smell great. So yeah, I wanted to show that up there. The other thing I wanted to discuss on this show was, Stacy, you had tweeted out that, let me bring this up.
Oh yes. And the president retweeted me.
Yes. Which was really awesome. The tourism.
Oh, no. I thought
Which one were you talking about? The Barclays one?
Yeah. Yeah, the tourism. Read the tourism one because that was good.
The tourism
And I
one.
won't send a DMCA takedown notice.
Yeah, so this is the
This
president.
one long ass tweet.
Yes, and he put out in Spanish and in English about how tourism is up 35%. And you put tourism in El Salvador is booming. First, President Bukele made Bitcoin legal tender. This attracted global media attention onto the small country and set in motion the greatest rebrand in history. Which that right there, that moment right there attracted the Bitcoin tourists. Just, everyone who wanted to see what this was like. One of the reasons you guys came here, correct?
Yes, true. Yes. The very first wave of tourists were Bitcoiners, basically coming to see what was going on.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Like the Beverly Hillbillies. The Bitcoin. They came in there with Jed and Mary Lou, and they were in the cement swimming pool. Yeah, it was beautiful.
Because back in 2021, remember, this was before the gang war. So it was still like when we first flew there, and I Googled it from the runway, they said this is the most dangerous country on earth, don't go. And I mean, I was scared, but you do anything for Bitcoin, right? So, I overcame my fear and we went. But this new wave of tourists, there's still a lot of Bitcoin tourists. There are actually even more, I would say, Bitcoin exiles, people actually moving there. Yeah. And because the global media cannot stop talking about President Bukele, a lot of people around the world then hear about El Salvador for the first time. And then they see the images and they see how cool it looks. They see the leader looks cool. They see the country looks cool. The waves look awesome. The volcanoes look beautiful. And so they start to think, the news is saying it's safe. It's the safest country in the Western Hemisphere by far, but at a cost. And nobody cares about that, right? They know all the tourists are like, I want to go to those beaches and it's safe. Let's go.
The cost is your reputation, journalist man who insists on reporting fake news about El Salvador. That's the cost.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I'm one of those people. I mean, first I commend you and anybody who came here before Bukele made the country safe. Like that was gutsy. It was a year ago. It was like last March or April is when I started seeing both, Stacy, you and Max's tweets about it's now safe. And that report had come out about a year ago saying it was the safest country in Latin America. And I started following some other Bitcoiners that were down here, notably Sandy Waves, who's a Bitcoin tourist, a tour guide. And I was like, I got to see for myself, because again, I don't trust the mainstream corporate media saying whatever, Bukele is blah, blah, blah. I don't trust them. I'm a Bitcoiner. I trust it. So I verify. I don't trust, I verify. So I came down here, and anybody who's watching this, if you go to my YouTube channel, I have a whole El Salvador playlist, and you can see me interviewing people, like going into formerly bad neighborhoods and how safe they are, interviewing El Salvadorians, telling me their story, why they came down here. And it's like, I personally feel safer here than I do in the United States.
Well, that's the don't trust, verify sort of factor of Bitcoin, because, everybody in Bitcoin, most people in Bitcoin know the Kaiser Report. They might have learned about it on the Kaiser Report, or certainly watched a lot of our interviews with Bitcoiners and coverage of Bitcoin over the years since 2011. So when they saw me and Max there in El Salvador, not just for a week or 2 weeks or 2 months or 3 months or 5 months or 6 months, like we were there for month after month after month after month for now 2.5 years. And that was their verification. They've started to verify, okay, well, it must be worth at least a visit, right? Let's go see for ourselves, because we know them. We've been watching them for 10, 15 years. And so we'll go verify for ourselves that, we trust them, but we're going to go verify. So, that was the first wave, was those Bitcoiners. But I would say, again, like that more of them are actually moving there now than.
Yeah, it's true. A lot of people are now moving. The idea, the seed was planted, and then a year, 2 years later, it's growing, and the situation wherever the country you're in is getting worse, and you do it, man. You make the move.
We were
Well,
just we just visited a location here in North Carolina where they repair ASICs, right? And it's been operating since 2016. And the guy who runs it, Gerald, he came down to El Salvador in early February for 2 nights, 3 days. And now he's moving there. He's moving there next week. He was only there for 2 days, 3 days. So he's moving to El Salvador. And this is a common thing, right? It's, how that feeling when you're hanging out with your friends at Bitcoin conferences? It's like that across the whole country. You have all this space to, climb volcanoes, surf in the waves.
Yeah, that's what you do when you're young. I mean, I visited Paris when I was 30 years old, was going to a party there, fell in love with it. I called my office a week later and resigned and never returned to the United States for 5 years because I just loved it so much. I think this is having the similar impact on people. They come to El Salvador and it really is remarkable. We came up with an idea. I think Stacy really thought of this idea where you remove the violence, and what's underneath the violence are people who are very friendly, very nice, and they're very outgoing, and they're just very, very nice people. So it removed the layer of violence, and underneath are just peace-loving, fun people.
Yeah. The thing I noticed too is when I first came down here last June, I was introduced. Sandy Waves introduced me to all these Bitcoiners, and everyone was in some version of either they had already come down before and now they were moving here, or they were visiting like me, or one person came down and then they went back and got their wife and kids and were like, we're moving here and let's work on projects. I interviewed all these cool people like Quentin and his girlfriend at Bitcoin Island, La Playa, who are now helping create all the cool stuff that's happening in Berlin, which is Bitcoin City. And everyone was like, how do we get involved and how do we and like you say, the El Salvadorian people are so nice and friendly and welcoming, and they're like their pride now that they have. Like I was interviewing Ronnie on Monday, who created the Bitcoin hardware store in El Zonte, and he's like Salvadorian, and he goes, Salvadorians didn't used to. We were sort of looked down in the Latin American community as all this violent country. And he goes, now we have all this pride. And when I speak to people from other Latin American countries, they're all like, man, we got to get a Bukele here in fill in the blank, Costa Rica, Mexico, Guatemala, whatever. And I'm noticing that I've been traveling around this country. We went to the Tazumal, the Mayan ruins on Saturday of several Bitcoiners. We all went there. And then we went to Santa Ana to go to this beautiful Catholic church. I lit a candle for my Irish Catholic grandmother. I hope she's watching from heaven. It was this beautiful, like we saw two amazing things within a 2 hour, hour and a half drive of San Salvador. And everyone was like, there were 3 of us that are all like living here. And then there was a young kid who was just visiting, and he's like, man, I got to figure out how to make this. Well, you come down here, you see it, you verify, and then you go, how do I make this work? Like, how do I make this happen?
Which is in 21 and first half of 2022, especially, because remember the gang war didn't start until the very end of March. Max and I used to do these live events in order to give people an excuse to fly across the world to come to the event, right? How do you get somebody from Norway or India to fly that huge distance? Well, this was a good reason to go. Like, okay, there's this event. We'll go to the event, and we know Max and Stacy are going to be there, and it's a public event, and they're happy to be in this public space, whatever the space is. We don't know what El Salvador is like, but if they're going to be there, then it must be safe, right? They're there, living there. And so we used to have to do those events in order to get all the Bitcoiners to come. And then they came, and there would be up to 300, 400 people at a time from all over the world flying in for those. The last like really big one we had, I think it was when maybe it was Jeff Booth speaking there. I forget who was on stage with us, but it was like maybe 3 weeks, maybe 2 weeks even after the gang war started. Remember that? And that was down in El Zonte, and there were already people booked, right? So we had to go through with the event because people were flying in from all over the world for it. But all of those people that came, then they tweeted or they reported or they blogged or they posted videos and said great things, and then their friends saw it and their friends came to El Salvador, and the compounding effect of that, of more and more people seeing for themselves what El Salvador was like there's no all you have to do is get somebody to come visit and they can see for themselves.
Last Friday, the Bitcoin Beach did its monthly meetup in El Zonte, and Chimbera asked me to speak, and it was so cool. So Lena spoke, who's been on this show. Mauricio, the Minister of Education, spoke, who's been on this show. I spoke, and in the audience, and I've been to that meetup a couple of times, it was so cool. There was some of the people I knew, like Bitcoiners that live here, and then there were people, they went around, who's new? And people were like, I'm from Germany, I'm from Boston, I'm from New Jersey, like all over the world. And, some people were like diehard, orange pill people. Some people were just sort of like, I'm kind of new to this bit. I don't know, but they're like wanting to learn about it. And everyone there's such an excitement. And so it was so cool. We hung out. There was a DJ I met from Canada, and he wants to come down here and open up like a Bitcoin nightclub, because everyone's like, how do I bring my thing, which is so cool. And it's one of the things you guys first told me when we met, when I was here in June. I'm like, what does this country need? And you're like, everything. And so everyone's like, okay, what can I bring? And it's such a cool vibe. So then yesterday I was using the Bitcoin Beach co-working space, which is a fantastic space in El Zonte. And because the power was out in El Tunco where I was living. So I was like, I got to go, and it's this cool space. And then afterwards I'm just walking on the beach, and this guy comes up to me, and he's like, introduces himself, and he's from Germany, and he runs the Bitcoin Hotel in Austria. This like Bitcoin only hotel. And he's like, you got to guys come do your Orange Pill podcast there. So I'm just kind of pitching you guys here during the live stream that we need to go do this live in Austria. That energy is so cool. I mean, he's like, he's from Germany. I'm, from Chicago and LA, and now we're all here connecting, and it's just this like amazing stuff that's happening. And it's really, El Salvador is like the capital or the crossroads or the touch point, and people are coming here, and they're either moving here or they're getting inspired to set up something cool where they live. And that's what's amazing. And this is like, it's becoming this Mecca. Like, if you're a Bitcoiner, you have to make a pilgrimage here. You have to come here.
Yeah, but the tourism is up 35% this year so far on last year's number, and last year's numbers were all-time record highs. So that's more than just Bitcoin. That is like, Bitcoin definitely sparked that, because it was President Bukele making Bitcoin legal tender that caused the most expensive media in the world to start to talk about him incessantly, right? The Financial Times, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the Washington Post. They gave many column inches every single week to covering him obsessively and saying why this was a bad idea, mostly, right? About the Bitcoin legal tender. And this was before the gang war. And then they, stepped up again with more hate and FUD. But there was so much FUD about Bitcoin, but they kept uncovering it, and they kept putting headlines: El Salvador's president, El Salvador's president, El Salvador, El Salvador, El Salvador, El Salvador. So like, it's in the mind. It starts seeping into the brain of people all over the world in all sorts of industries and all sorts of, realities that they might not have ever heard of or given any thought at all to El Salvador. But because of him doing such a unique thing of making Bitcoin legal tender, it gave a huge amount of column inches to a little tiny country. And they got to, it was like an asymmetric bet that paid off financially, economically, and culturally, and with tourism, right?
It's like Lourdes in France. People go there for the healing waters. It's taken on a new significance. It's just not tourism like, oh, let's do some TikTok videos and get on the bikini. It's healing. You touch the volcano acid and the rocks, and they transform you, and you become one with the Bitcoin singularity. And President Bukele is beaming down from the heavens and from his home, and it's stirring the emotions, and people find that they've never felt this good in their life.
Yes.
It's so funny. I'm noticing that. So I live in El Tunco, which is it's a surf town. It's a lot of tourists there. And I've met a lot of these people that are tourists just because they heard about it's safe now. They're not even necessarily Bitcoiners. They're like, I'm here for the surfing. And a lot of them I've noticed, they're like surf tourists who are like, oh yeah, man, we're going to hit, we were in Costa Rica, we're surfing Nicaragua. And then they come to El Salvador, and their plan was to just maybe come and surf for like 4 or 5 days in El Salvador. And they're all like, man, I'm staying longer. Like all of them just go, this vibe here, those other countries are cool and everything, but they're like, man, the vibe here is so much cooler because as Max said earlier in this, the fact that Salvadorians now feel safe, there isn't, in these other countries, you have to kind of watch your wallet and kind of, you got to like play that head on a swivel thing out. You don't have to here. Like you literally are like, no, it's safe. It's cool. I'm seeing people ride their bikes around, just lean their bike up against something. No one's locking their bikes. Like
But
that's.
I think the new safety, I think the thing that is really altering everything is that when you take the decision and you fly and you land in El Salvador, the one thing that is infectious that really makes you fall in love is the people. Yeah. And part of that is because a lot of that is due to the fact that here is a population that lived for 50 years under brutal civil war, followed by brutal gang war. So they've been totally, totally liberated, and not just liberated by some outside force, but by their own leader that they elected, who is also super fucking cool. And everybody in the world wants him to be their leader too. So you emerge into you're liberated by that guy who everybody thinks is the coolest guy in the world. And like, you get to be cool suddenly and free, not just free, but cool, not just cool, but free. Like you get to be all of that. Right. And you see that in the people themselves, the population all around you. Like they're just, the first 6 months to 12 months, they were still cautious, right? Mm-hmm. They had been liberated, but everything was still cautious. And certainly the global media was throwing so much hard FUD at them because it wasn't obvious. At the point when it wasn't obvious about just what a resounding success the regime of the exception regime was, there was still a lot of FUD being thrown at the country. But now, I mean, wow, like people have forgotten the bad times. They don't believe those bad times are coming back. They know the good times are just getting started, that this is just the beginning. And you see that in the people that like hot diggity dog, like this shit is getting great. Like our lives are amazing. And we're the coolest people in Latin America and in the world.
So true. Cool, free and cool.
Free and cool.
So since, Bukele put that out there, and Stacy, you retweeted it about the 35% increase. And as you both pointed out, this is just, and there was an all-time high last year. So they've already, and with all of the improvements that are being made, I mean, there's surf competitions that are coming that were here last, the Miss Universe was here. They have new stadiums and stuff like that being built. And as they just constantly are improving the infrastructure, where do you see, like, what are some of the next levels of tourism and some of the things that are happening in this country that you can like look to is like, oh, when this happens, or, you know, get ready, the numbers are only going to keep going up. Like, how do you project that?
Well, just like with Bitcoin and stuff, you know, we were very, very early in Bitcoin. We're very early in El Salvador, and the sort of natural, like I said, the first wave of tourists was Bitcoiners, and Bitcoiners are a little bit more honey badger than most. They came before the gang war, before the security was, and before peace came. Then you have the more adventurous travelers now. But you're going to start to see, and we know some of them are coming, like really, really big superstar names, like whether they're movie stars or, you know, big titans of industry, like really famous names coming. That's what I think you'll see next.
Yeah, I think, you know, you should see, like, for in development of another area, I guess in the east, toward La Union, they're going to building an airport there, and Bitcoin City. So once you have more than just a couple of hotspots, right? You've got San Salvador and you've got El Zonte, El Tuco, where you are. Those are like two hotspots. And then you add another airport on the east and Bitcoin City, and then people will be staying and really moving all over the country. And I think that's, you know, you're going to grow it that way. You know, you're going to grow it. So you're traveling, they're building all the roads, they're building the infrastructure. They're as fast as they can grow the infrastructure, they're going to get more and more tourists, right? They're going to get more cruise ships. I mean, 2 years ago, the 0 cruise ships went to El Salvador. Last year, 1 cruise ship came in from Norwegian Cruise Line. This year, I think last I looked, they're scheduling 10 cruise ships coming in. You know, each one of those ships has 2,000 to 3,000 people. And where they pull in, I haven't seen the actual facility, but I'm the way it's been described to me, it's, you know, it's also a working industrial port. So I'm not sure it's like it's been built up as a great, like Miami or someplace like that. That's such a great place to pull in with your huge cruise ship. But I'm sure that'll be coming. And then you come in on the cruise, and then you leave in the air. You go to the airport, you fly to somewhere else, you come back. You know, you got to build the infrastructure. So you know, the president has said that there's lots of money if you don't steal it. You know, he's everyone else in the world steals the money. You know, Liz Warren or Nancy Pelosi, right? They can't steal it fast enough. Here, the president's just saying, let it all drop at the bottom line, and we'll just plow it back into infrastructure because I'm a madman like that.
Yeah, I mean, you bring a great point. Like I said, you know, a year ago when that guy broke into the Pelosi's home, I said, well, that's one way to stop insider trading. Because the Pelosi's are worth hundreds of millions of dollars from insider, like everyone in Congress and the Senate just about has gotten, you know, they buy a bunch of stock, then they pass some bill that benefits that sector. And then, oh, hey, look, they're millionaires. Like, oh, what a wacky coincidence. And it is amazing when, like you say, when everyone isn't stealing and there isn't corruption, there's money for all of this. Yeah. So it's only going to go up. There's only going to be more international events and sporting events and concerts. I mean, that's what's coming to next, I think, is a big concert venue.
Yeah, you know, let me jump in here for a second. You know, Bukele has made politics great again. You know, there's this meme, particularly in the US and other countries, that all politics suck and only the private sector can do anything. You know, Elon Musk can send a rocket to the moon and NASA sucks. But, you know, in El Salvador, all this great stuff we're talking about is brought to you by the government, right? It's the government that's doing all this great stuff. And as I said, I think on the last show, President Bukele is like reinventing something that has been moribund for 2,500 years, the idea of politics and having a functioning government. There's a real functioning philosophical question about the social contract and the need for an organizing principle called the government. And that, unfortunately, as you point out, in America and Washington, D.C., it's been being gamed by midwits and folks who couldn't make it in Hollywood or can't hit a fastball. So they steal money as politicians. And the results are catastrophic, as we've seen it. But it doesn't necessarily reflect negative on the idea of governance. After all, Bitcoin is the most governed thing in the universe.
Yeah, we touched on it a couple of weeks ago. Just, you know, like it has the inspiration that like JFK had. Like he inspired people to like get involved and be a part of things. And of course, you know, he wasn't allowed to do anything. because he said famously we should break the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter it into the wind. And what Bukele is doing is he's inspiring people to like get involved and be, like you say, we couldn't be here if it wasn't for him and his government, the New Ideas Party, passing. It shows you that like when government's done correctly, wonderful things can happen. I mean, I'm here.
It's called leadership and statesmanship. Yeah. And we must answer Max Trotter's question. Max Trotter is a OG Orange Pill fan. He's been in the audience for many years, and he's asking if there's any snooker in El Salvador. The important question.
No, there's no snooker, and we'll get Ronnie O'Sullivan down there to launch a snooker, league, and bring about some championship snooker to El Salvador. So that definitely what we definitely were missing. Some snooker.
What you need is a snooker hall, and they will come. The snooker players will come.
Yeah, they'll definitely show up. It's a great sport. Ronnie O'Sullivan. No, not yet. Max Trotter, not yet.
Soon there's going to be snooker tournaments. Well, let's it's infectious too to be around people. And I was talking about this with this guy Mark, who runs the Bitcoin Hotel in Austria. It was his first time here, and when you're around, and when I call back to my friends in the States, there's always some like and it's like, wow, I forget just the 5 weeks I've been here. Every day I'm surrounded by positivity, and there's something you don't even realize it when you're in a place and everyone's like complaining and it sucks, and they have valid complaints, and the rents and the inflation. And when you're like, I feel lighter, I feel better. My friends that talk to me back, they're like, God, you sound great. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm just laughing. We're talking all the cool stuff that's happening. I'm surfing, I'm doing yoga, I'm like working out, like it's great. And you don't realize how your surroundings, not just physical and geographical surroundings, but the people around you, how important that is. And you go to a Bitcoin meetup, you go to just hang out in El Salvador, you go hiking, you go see the volcano, you surf, and everyone's like cool, fun, and in a good vibe. Like it's infectious, and then it feeds on itself. Just like negativity can feed on itself, positivity can feed on itself. Yeah. And it's like, man, I love it.
Well, it's the cycles. It's those the fourth turning, right? As Max recently pointed out, the U.S. is heading into their fourth turning, or like in the early stages of it, whereas El Salvador has already had that, and they're exiting it. They're, the cycle, the good times create weak men create the bad times create the good strong men create good times. So we're in the strong men have created the good times that are just starting. And in the US, we've had weak money, weak men, and bad times are happening, right?
Yeah, a lot of people bring up the point that when Europe went into the dark ages, it was the age of light in Middle East, in Islam, and in that area of the world, it became the leadership. Alexandria. And so, we may be seeing this in the world today, is that El Salvador is now really the new beacon of hope and leading the world. I mean, it's in the old days, you would mount an army, you would invade a country, you would have a huge empire, but these days we live in this, cosmic consciousness, and it's about memes, and the way to galvanize following is through, this intellectual process that's rampant and running throughout our minds, and we're all connected electronically. So you don't need to have a large physical presence. El Salvador is a small country with only like 6-7 million population, but it could conceivably be a Goliath. It could be really just a massively important global leader that changes the world. Right now, the trajectory is, they're on that trajectory right now. That's where we're headed right now.
Yeah, and Max was just saying, like, you don't need to invade and steal lands, but the president has lived rent free in many minds, of important people around the world, and that has altered everything. Like, that's like occupying mind space, right? mind share.
Yeah, it's mind share. You know, it's the again, politics is being brought up just like Bitcoin has reinvented money for the electronic age. I think President Bukele has reinvented politics for the post central bank, post nation state era. And so now you have Bukele and Bitcoin, and they're together. And so the synergies there are really working on each other in a big way. And so people are like flocking, they're fleeing to El Salvador to escape the fiat money apocalypse, the fiat money dark ages. And this is happening right now.
The other thing too, you guys bring up great points, is that so not only are people flocking here, but there's also now El Salvador is beginning to like spread the gospel. Like I was at a Meet Premier Bitcoin meetup. They have their curriculum now in 21 languages. They showed this map of the world, and I was like, oh my God, this is it. Like you guys, you know, a bunch of them were just in Madeira, and, you know, which is in Portugal. Like, and the Salvadorians, when they arrive with Meet Premier Bitcoin or whatever at these other Bitcoin conferences around the world, they're greeted like conquering heroes. Like, oh, you're here from the promised land. Like you've touched the Rosetta Stone down there, and share with us. You know, it's so amazing to watch.
Yes. And by the way, if you are a Swan Bitcoin, private wealth, private client, you know, Max and I next week, we are going to be in Miami, and we're having some events like a private dinner and then a private meetup with Swan clients, Swan Bitcoin, swan.com. They managed to get swan.com/orange pill, because we're going to be in Miami talking about the promised land to their clients and talking about El Salvador and Bitcoin country. So
yeah, I think it's it's a limited number of tickets sold. I'm not even sure there's any tickets left. Yeah, I say sure. Teasingly.
I don't know if it's there's a ticket available. It's just like there's a certain number of seats at the table and seats in the
it's by invitation only, I think.
Invitation only. You have to be a Swan client.
You have to be a Swan private client. That's right.
Yes.
Swan is amazing. I've really, meeting Corey last year and interviewing him and going some of the Swan Salon private events in Los Angeles, I was like really impressed in that they're Bitcoin only. And again, anyone watching the show, especially if you're sort of new to the space and where do I go and this and that, go to swan.com/orange pill and you get $10 free. And they're all about teaching you how to self-custody, and like they're a Bitcoin maxi place. So go there. You won't get caught up like Coinbase just went down or whatever, trying to convert to these shitcoin ETH fees or whatever nonsense is happening out there in that land. But speaking of there's people that get it, all of us, there's people watching, there's Swan, and then there's Barclays. Let's talk about Barclays real quick.
Yeah. We'll talk about Barclays quickly, and then we have a call in 10 minutes that running Bitcoin country. But Barclays, so they mentioned they have a problem with President Bukele's speech at CPAC. Remember his speech that went viral, and especially those 2.5 minutes where he lit the dollar on fire, the illusion of the dollar on fire, really. And if you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. But nevertheless, they, Barclays wrote this, market analysis of El Salvador, their research on El Salvador, and like cited that CPAC speech and Bitcoin, and basically said, released a whole bunch of FUD about El Salvador and that things are bad, blah, 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 and Bitcoin's a failure and blah, 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 all of that stuff. And I tweeted that. It was one of my better tweets.
It was a really good tweet.
It's a great
well composed, caught the attention, went viral.
It's great because you said if Barclays had put some Bitcoin on their balance sheet instead of wasting everyone's time with their nonsensical market analysis, then perhaps their stock price would not be stuck in 1994.
It's the exact same price as 94. What the heck?
So great. When the thing about I love Bitcoin, and you guys just do it. You just have the numbers. and you compare, you don't trust, you verify. Hey, Barclays, here's your stock price from 30 years ago.
Yeah. What the heck? You've done nothing for 30 years. I'm not going to trust that analysis. Like if somebody maybe like Elon Musk or he's wrong in some things, but somebody who's successful, right? Like these bozos are not obviously successful. So you're like, well, what does your opinion matter, right? We don't care about your opinion.
Yeah, 100%.
Their chart looks like a shitcoin chart that just had the one pump and dump and then it's over. That's what their chart looks like.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
I love roasting these people because like the corporate media and the institutional money, like Jim Cramer put out like Bitcoin might have hit its top. This is it. And I retweeted it like, listen to everything Jim Cramer says and just do the opposite and you'll be a billionaire. Like he's such a jackass. They're so dumb. And the evidence shows how dumb they are. How can they keep talking?
Well, look, I mean, Graham, as I've been saying for 10 years now, don't look at the price, look at the hash rate. The price doesn't measure conviction in Bitcoin. Hash rate measures conviction in Bitcoin. And so Wall Street grows up on this notion that, well, if people have conviction in this stock, the price will go up. But that's not true in Bitcoin. People have conviction in Bitcoin and they throw computational power at it and the hash rate goes up. That's the sign of conviction. And if you look at that chart and if you look at that market and the growth of that, you would never say a stupid thing like, oh, the stock, the price is down 10, 20, or even 50% or 60%. And therefore I'm going to conclude that there's no conviction. And therefore the price will continue to go a trend towards zero. It's so foolish. That conviction is not measured by the price. Okay. It's measured by the freaking hash rate. It's the only asset class in the world. Okay. Bitcoin is a unique asset class. It's not like any other asset class. This is one of the attributes that make it a unique asset class. Barclays Bank has a fiduciary responsibility to do the research before they publish a report. To publish a report, as they have just done, is a failure of their fiduciary responsibility. They have failed their regulatory mandate to provide to the public information that's not dangerous to the public. This is like selling rat poison as Kool-Aid. This is like selling Jim Jones coming out and saying, drink this grape-flavored Kool-Aid. That's Barclays is the Jim Jones of banks. There's 4 big banks in the UK. It's the 4 horsemen of the banking apocalypse. Lloyds, Barclays, Royal Bank of Scotland, HSBC. These are the 4 horsemen of the fiat money apocalypse. It started in 1694 with the Bank of England, and it's ending with Barclays and their 3 brethren in the UK, and they're going down, Graham. They're going down into the North Sea like the Titanic to the bottom of the sea, and they're all going to be drowning in their fiat money puke, and they're going to smell like Gwyneth Paltrow's vagina. I guarantee you.
Oh my God.
Oh,
we gotta go, man. We gotta go build Bitcoin country.
Right.
You guys are awesome. Thank you for taking
so
your
much,
time.
And Max Trotter, just bring a snooker table with you to El Salvador.
Yeah, stop complaining. Bring the snooker table with you and start a snooker tournament.
Start a pool hall in San Salvador. I love shooting pool. So come down here, Max, and make us pool hall.
It's not pool, it's snooker.
Pool is not the same as snooker.
Okay, snooker is like pool,
up,
except it's impossible to make a shot because the table is like as long as a football field, and you're supposed to put the ball. You can't even see the ball. It's so far away in a snooker table.
In a certain order. It's like,
oh, it's the pink ball. Oh, it's the blue ball. Oh, I got blue balls because I can't get the pink ball into my snooker pocket. Like it's a game that only the British people could love, similar to cricket. Cricket is only for British people. They can stand around for days on end, drink vodka, and pretend they're engaged in a sport.
They don't drink vodka. It's gin and tonic.
Yeah, excuse me.
Okay. Thank you so much, everybody.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming on the show. Have fun. We'll talk soon.
Bye.
Well, there they are, Max and Stacy, ladies and gentlemen, talking about. So they bring up a good point. If you're a huge fan of snooker, I say come down here and make not just like snooker and pool in the same hall. I've been to some big pool halls that had snooker tables and pool. Do it all. That was fantastic. You guys are great. Don't forget, thank you to our moderators, Blaze, Saver Wolf, and Glenn T. And of course, folks, support the show and you get $10 if you go to swanbitcoin.com or swan.com/orange pill. You get $10 and boom, and start your orange pill journey. Just buy a little bit of Bitcoin. Don't have to go nuts. Just buy a little bit. You'll be glad you did. We will be back again tomorrow. Today we were normally we do 4 o'clock Eastern. Today we did 3 o'clock Eastern because Max and Stacy had that phone call. Tomorrow we have a guest on the show. We will be at 4 o'clock Eastern tomorrow. And come and join us and like, share, and subscribe. Go to Orange Pill Pod. And again, if you're watching this on the Orange Pill YouTube channel, please go to my YouTube channel as well, youtube.com/Graham Elwood, and watch. I have a whole El Salvador playlist. And if you want to verify what El Salvador is like, go watch all the interviews and stuff I did when I was here in El Salvador last year. And it's awesome. So, and support both of the channels. If you're watching on my channel, go subscribe to the Orange Pill Pods channel. So we had over almost 700 people watching. If you have any questions in the chat, you can support the show also with a super chat. Snooker is pool for grown-ups. That's great. Who else do we got in the chat? Won a lawn bowling league. There you go. Thank you for supporting us. And of course, follow us at Orange Pill Pod, at Orange Pill Pod on Twitter. We're currently live streaming on Twitter right now, and you can get up-to-date stuff from the podcast at Orange Pill Pod. And you'll see all of our below at Orange Pill Pod, at Max Kaiser, at Stacy Herbert, and at Graham Elwood. Give us all a follow. All of those cool analytic things help our show. That's it. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Thank you, everybody, here at the Orange Pill Podcast, here at El Blog Studios in San Salvador. And I have $4K to invest in. Should I put it all in on Bitcoin? I would. I just buy Bitcoin. I wouldn't know that I'd wait to go down, man. Just buy it and hang on to it and hold on to it. Because even if you buy it now and it goes down, it will be back up. Don't get tied up in the short-term volatility of it. Just look at the long term. A year ago, it was at 19,000. And some people are like, oh, I want to see if it goes down. I want to wait till it goes lower than 19. I'm going to wait. Right? Just buy now. Just buy and hold. Buy and hold. Just buy and hold. That's all you got to do. That's what Michael Saylor says. Buy and hold. Don't, just buy and hold. There you go. Yeah, that's what you do. And open up an account at Swan. And then you start learning about self-custody and cold wallets and all that stuff. Swan Bitcoin has a YouTube channel with a lot of informative stuff on self-custody, on cold wallets. It's very informative. But that's got over 800 people, 1,000 people watching. Any more questions in the chat? You can do super chats to watch. That always is a cool way to support our show. Got my Tangent wallet cards one step closer to being orange pilled. Right on, Charles. All right. $800 people and 19 likes. Come on, everybody. Like it. Hit the like button. You got to hit we got 800 people watching. You got to hit the like button. We have 1,000 people watching. You have to hit the like button. We need to get 1,000 likes. Like, everyone needs to get the likes up right now. That's what we're doing. If you like the show, hit the like button. That helps. Wherever you're watching this, hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed to both channels, and make sure you've hit the bell notification button at both channels, even if you've done it before, because YouTube sometimes unsubscribes people. Shaving Knuckles for Justice, right on. Thank you, Blaze Silver Wolf. 125 likes. Okay, we got to get those likes up. 1,100 people are watching. The YouTube numbers are live, don't matter anymore. Anyway, just keep hitting the like button. All that stuff helps. And when you share this out on your social media, that helps. And then if you're just joining us, this show, the whole live stream and everything that stuff that Max and Stacy and myself were all talking about, you can go back and watch it. And then what we do is we have an amazing editor who then takes little clips out of the segments and puts the shorter form clips out as well. So watch those, make sure you like those. All that stuff helps our show. How high is Bitcoin going this year? I think it'll at least hit 100,000, probably very easily. Max has talked about a $220,000 price, which is very realistic when you consider right now Bitcoin has $1.3 trillion. There's $400 trillion in global assets. If you add up everybody's bank account savings, investments, stock portfolios, gold, all of that stuff, if you do all of that stuff and add all of it up, there's $400 trillion in assets around the world. Bitcoin right now is $1.3 trillion in assets. Gold is currently $14 trillion in assets. So what if Bitcoin just overtakes gold? What if people start pulling their money out of gold and putting it into Bitcoin? What if Bitcoin just gets, so here's how you can get to 220,000. If Bitcoin just gets 1% of global assets, that would be $4 trillion. So we go from 1 trillion to 4 trillion. That's roughly a 4x from our current price today of 66,000. That's 240 some thousand. So even if we just get, 0.75% of global, 0.75% of global assets would put us around $3 trillion, which would put us, around 200, right? So when am I considering to take some gains in Bitcoin? Probably rarely, never. I don't know that I ever will. My point is to try to stack up as much as I can. And then if it goes to a high level, like $1 million, $2 million, $5 million a coin, then I'll take a line of credit against it, against 10% of its value. So I'm never losing it. And then taking a line of credit against an asset, in this case Bitcoin, then you're not paying any taxes, right? So $69,420 was too perfect. Yeah, that's funny. Worrying about the Bitcoin price is like worrying about DXY. Yep. It's the best phone app for BTC. It depends on what you want to do. I mean, I'm not an advocate for day trading. I just feel like buy it and hold it. That's what you should. That's what I do. I would just buy and hold it. So again, Swan has an app. So those are the things I would look at. We have 1,400 people watching. Let's hit the like button. How many likes do we have? How many likes are out there? Hit the like button. Hit the like button. Great and funny show as always. Thank you so much for watching. Always fun. Max goes on a tie, right? 150, right? 150 likes. All right, we got to do more. My goal is to use my Bitcoin to buy investment properties when it reaches above 100K and then get back into in the next bear market. You think that's a good idea? I mean, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Everybody's financial situation is different. Income properties. I know some people that do well with that. So if that's what works for you, will there be another bear market? Probably, but that's one thing you can do. But I would try to hold on to as much Bitcoin as I could, even if I converted it, if I put some into real estate. I don't know. I mean, if you read what and listen to what Michael Saylor says, he's very much like, don't ever sell it. Don't ever sell it. So that's one suggestion. Hold Bitcoin. I made the mistake of selling in 2018. I'd be super rich if I had almost a whole coiner again. Let's go. Yeah. So 1,500 people are watching. Yeah, I mean, that's what Michael Saylor suggests is you acquire as much Bitcoin as you can. And when the price goes up, you get a line of credit against it. But if you want to realize profits, some people just want to do that. Okay. But then you got to pay capital gains tax and all that. I would talk to an accountant and a bunch of people before I make that decision. Yeah, and you bring up a decent point here, Ricky. If we don't ever sell, how are we going to pay for groceries and everything? And I get if everyone's personal financial situation is different. If you need money for revenue and to pay your bills and stuff like that, then maybe that's what makes sense for you. If that's what you have to do for your personal situation, like take some Bitcoin and buy a property that brings in positive revenue. I get that. I totally get that. That makes sense. All right, everybody. Wow, show's been going on for a little over an hour. 1,600 people watching. This is amazing. Hit the like button. Hit more likes. Hit more like button. If you're watching this on Twitter, hit the like button. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the like button. So we multi-stream this. We simulcast this on Orange Pill's YouTube, on my YouTube, and on the Orange Pill Twitter account. So those three places is where we always live stream the show. And then you can watch clips after the shows. You can watch the whole episode on the Orange Pill YouTube and on my YouTube, and clips on Orange Pill and on my YouTube. And sometimes we post clips on the Orange Pill Twitter, but there's got to be a lot of work. You should invite George from Crypto Russ. You got it. My cold wall is in the mail. Should be here next week. Right on. Everyone wants to know how to get yield on Bitcoin, but I don't think anyone knows. That's a great overall question, Robert. And maybe next week, when Max and Stacy are back in the studio, we'll have that discussion, and they can explain it way better than I can about what are the best ways to do that. It's a good discussion to have. So 69,420 is the resistance price. Yeah, I mean, but it could bust over 70 pretty quickly. What happened was it hit its all-time high, and then some Bitcoin whale or whales sold like some crazy number, 10,000 Bitcoin or something like that, because they wanted to realize. That always happens whenever you hit an all-time high. There's going to be people who are like, I want to realize some profits, and they're going to sell when it hits an all-time high. Because when you hit an all-time high, that means every single Bitcoin owner on planet Earth is in a profit. Every single one. Even if they bought it 3 years ago at 60 or 65, and they're just like, I want out, or whatever the reasons are. But that's what happened. It got to an all-time high, and then a couple of whales, or maybe one just whale, sold a huge chunk of it, and that brought the price down, which happens, and it'll be back up. I mean, all right, 1,700 people watching. This is amazing. This is amazing. This is amazing. Let me just do this real quick. This is why Satoshi created scarcity. Scarcity solves a problem. It's like rare loot in a video game. Yes. Yeah. It'll break 70. When it breaks 70, that's when people are going to go bananas. That's when people are going to go bananas. So, can Bitcoin hit 300K if big institutions like Disney, Apple, Amazon start buying Bitcoin as well. Yeah. Yes. Well, that's the thing. When the market cap keeps going up, so the market cap was, like I said, $1.3 trillion. And when these big companies come in, when the big institutional money, the more institutional money that comes in, the higher the price is going to go. That's just standard. That's what happened 4 years ago when Bitcoin was at like 9, 10,000. The summer of 2020, we were in COVID, the money printing was happening and all this crazy. That's when I started paying attention. That's when Michael Saylor really started paying attention. And that's when everyone was like, this huge tsunami of institutional money, this like avalanche of institutional money is coming into Bitcoin. And that's what happened 4 years ago. And everyone was like, we got to get back to the all-time high of 20,000. And then it hit it, and it was a little bit of a sell-off. And then boom, it just went 20, 30, 40, and went all the way up to 69 or whatever 3 years ago, April of 21. And so institutional money is the key to the big price. And that's why the Bitcoin ETF was so huge when that got approved in January, is everybody saw all of these asset managers who managed hundreds of billions and trillions of dollars of their clients' money. And even if their clients are like, just take my portfolio and put 2.5% to 3% of it into Bitcoin, that's a huge amount of money when you have all of these clients with all of this money in assets. And even just a small percentage of it, that's institutional money. Right. So JC brings up a great point. 4 times 6% of 4.6 times 1.28 trillion, which is the current 1.28 trillion is the current market cap, gives you $300,000. Totally reasonable. Yeah. You get Bitcoin at the price you deserve. Remember this. It all makes sense with scarcity, halvings. Use the rare loot analogy. Yeah, there's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin. There will never be more than that. There will never be more. Yeah, volume is going bananas, and here comes the halving. That's the other point here. So institutional money is going to come in. The halving is a month away. We're a month away from the halving. It's like April 5th or 6th or something when that halving. We're a month away. We just hit an all-time high, and we're a month away from the halving. Any Bitcoin books you recommend? Jan Pritzker's book, Inventing Bitcoin, is a really good book, quick read. Yeah. 19,646,456 current Bitcoin supply out there. Yeah. No, your questions are not annoying, Ricky. Thank you. Thank you. You can ask. That's what the show is. This show is about education and entertainment. We want to laugh and have a good time, but we also want to educate people. That's what it's about. I have a Bitcoin sticker at my work desk. A couple of coworkers have come up to me and said I should have stuck with it. I say you still can. It's not going anywhere up at the long run. Price prediction for the end of 2024, at least 100 grand, if not 200. I think we'll be at 100 grand by the summer, if not sooner. But I wouldn't be shocked if we were near $150,000 to $200,000 by the end of the year. Andreas Antonopoulos books are good. The Bitcoin Standard is good. Inventing Bitcoin is really, I just read that recently. But yeah, Andreas, his books are good, and the Bitcoin Standard is good. Those books. Yeah. If you're just new and don't quite understand it, the Inventing Bitcoin book by Jan Pritzker is such a simple read, and it's a good entry into this. And then you can get into the other ones where it gets a little more complex. It's a great book. It's like not even 100 pages, 199, 100 pages. You can read it in 2-3 hours. Very quick, simple, easy read. You don't have to be like a tech head or a math genius or whatever to understand it. So it's really good entry level. Loving the new format of the live streams. Keep it going. You're doing a really good job. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm new to this show and to this space. I've been podcasting for a long time. I've done a lot of TV and film, so I appreciate some of you maybe don't know me or whatever. That's totally cool. And so thanks, follow and subscribe to me, man. Like I've been censored a lot as a comedian. I've talked a lot we're over 2,000 followers. 2,000 people watching right now. That's pretty awesome. So I really appreciate that. A lot of people, like, I'm new to the space for some of you. I've talked about it a lot on my other show, Political Vigilante, and which is like a political show where I make fun of the political system, the two-party system. You got a beer on me if I meet you in El Salvador. Well, I don't drink, but I appreciate that. You can buy me a club soda with a lime, or as they say, agua mineral con limon. So thank you so much for appreciate it. Yeah, we're really trying to talk about this and I'm way more of a lefty. And that was like, Max was like, yeah, this is great, Graham. We can discuss, like, there's a clip out from last month where Max and I kind of debate capitalism versus socialism, but it's not some big heated, crazy debate, because we just come back to talk about why Bitcoin's great and why it can fix a lot of these problems. Max talks about how Bitcoin can fix a lot of lefty issues as well. RFK joined the Shiba. Oh, yeah, jeez. So stack sats, man, and just keep getting more knowledgeable. We're all at different levels of our Bitcoin journey. I've been in the space about 4 or 5 years, and I learn more and more every time, especially when I do the show with Max and Stacy, because they're so knowledgeable. I learn more and more about it. But yeah, go to my website, grahamelwood.com. There you can watch my comedy special, Manifested, where I make fun of a bunch of different things, including the two-party system in America and the media. And I say America's a cult. So follow my other stuff, because we're going to be doing one of the reasons I'm down here is Max and Stacy are like, Graham, we want to do more. I was like, I want to do more TV, film, scripted content that has Bitcoin themes in it. And that's why I'm here. So this podcast is just the tip of the iceberg. So I really appreciate, I really appreciate you guys coming and supporting the show and supporting me and welcoming me into the space. The thing I love about Bitcoin is we all don't agree on politics or whatever. We all agree the system is broken, and how to fix it, maybe we debate that, but we know that Bitcoin fixes it. We all know, and that we all agree on, and that's what's wonderful. That's the thing I love about the Bitcoin space. 1611 Bible is a good Bitcoin book I can confirm right on. SoFi Invest app stopped creating Bitcoin. Yep. They don't get it. Yeah. So thank you. I really appreciate you guys. It's really cool, supportive. My other show, Talking Politics, everyone get all mad. And there's always these fights and beefs, and everyone was like, this space is just more positive. It's just like, you like Bitcoin, I like Bitcoin, great. Let's go. That's it. That's all we need to know about it. I mean, it's just great. It's just awesome. Bitcoin is such a good commodity. Love you all, Max, Stacy, and for showing me the way. Yeah. So I got to run, you guys. Thank you. Wow, 22. This is the most amount of people we've ever had. How many likes have we had? This is pretty amazing. How many likes have we had? Let's see how many likes. This is fantastic. I'm looking at multiple screens here. Likes. This is fantastic. Right on. All right. Cool. Right on. Old money has always been the problem. Bitcoin is the answer. You got that right, Blaze Silverwolf. All right. Let's have a lot of people watching on Twitter. This is cool. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching. Please follow me, follow the show, follow Max and Stacy if you haven't already. And yeah, go to my YouTube channel. Check that out. And we will be on again tomorrow at 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern. Tomorrow is Thursday, March 7th. Have a great afternoon. As I say in my other show, shave your knuckles for justice. Follow the money, connect the dots, get the truth, and stack sats. Buy Bitcoin. Take care, everybody. Ba-boom. See you tomorrow.